2,500 years ago, this was the center of the world. The largest city humanity had ever built. Walls of blue and gold, gardens that defied the desert, a tower that reached for the heavens. They called it Babylon, and everyone believed it would stand forever. It didn't. How does the greatest city on earth simply disappear? Not in a single night, not in one fire. To understand how that's even possible, you first have to see Babylon as it truly was, at the absolute peak of its power, around 600 BC. Let's go inside. To enter Babylon, you pass through this, the Ishtar Gate. Over 12 meters tall, covered in glazed bricks of deep lapis blue, and decorated with lions, bulls, and dragons in shimmering gold. The lion belonged to Ishtar, goddess of love and war. The bull to Adad, god of storms. The dragon to Marduk himself, the chief god of Babylon. This wasn't just a gate, it was a statement. Walk through here, beneath 1,000 golden eyes, and you understood. You were entering a city protected by gods. Every brick you see was shaped by hand, fired in a kiln, and glazed one at a time. Tens of thousands of them. This was the most expensive construction project on the planet. Beyond the gate stretched the processional way, a wide paved avenue between towering blue walls. Once a year, during the New Year festival, the statues of the gods were carried down it through cheering crowds. On any other day, it was the artery of the city. Priests, merchants, foreigners, children. Hundreds of thousands of people lived behind these walls. To anyone who arrived here, Babylon didn't feel like a city. It felt like the capital of the entire known world. Before you ever reached the gate, you saw them from across the plain, the walls of Babylon. Ancient writers described them as so vast they seemed impossible. A double ring of fortifications encircling the entire city, with a deep moat between them. The Greek historian Herodotus claimed they were so wide that a 4-horse chariot could turn around on top. Historians today believe he exaggerated, but even the real walls were among the mightiest ever built, studded with hundreds of towers. To an approaching traveler, they sent one message: this city could not be taken. For centuries, they were right. And at its heart stood this, Etemenanke, the foundation of heaven and earth. A massive step tower, a ziggurat, rising in 7 terraces almost 90 meters into the sky. At its summit sat a temple to Marduk, sheathed in blue glaze, catching the last light of the sun. To the people below, it looked like a staircase built for gods to descend to earth. Centuries later, this tower, or the memory of it, would echo through history as the Tower of Babel, the story of humanity reaching too high and being scattered across the world. But in 600 BC, there was no fall yet. Only ambition, cast in brick, standing taller than anything in the known world. But Babylon was more than stone. At night, on its rooftops, astronomer priests studied the stars, recording the movements of the planets with a precision no one would match for over 1,000 years. They counted in base 60. That is exactly why we still have 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, and a circle divided into 360 degrees. Every time you look at a clock, you're using math that was born in this city. Babylon didn't just build wonders, it thought 1,000 years ahead. But Babylon's greatness was already ancient. More than 1,000 years before Nebuchadnezzar, another king ruled here, Hammurabi. Around 1750 BC, he did something that would outlive his empire. He had nearly 300 laws carved into a great stone pillar for everyone to see. Rules about trade, property, marriage, and justice, including the famous principle, an eye for an eye. It was one of the first times in history a ruler declared that the law stood above any single man, that even the powerful were bound by it. That pillar still survives today. Babylon didn't just build walls and towers, it helped write the rules of civilization itself. And then there were the gardens. According to ancient writers, somewhere in this city rose tier upon tier of green, trees, vines, and flowers, spilling down stone terraces, watered by a hidden system that lifted water from the Euphrates far below. A mountain of life in the middle of a flat, sun-scorched plain. Legend says King Nebuchadnezzar built them for his wife, who missed the green hills of her distant homeland. We have never found them, No ruins, no certain proof. Some historians believe they stood right here, others somewhere else entirely. Some think they existed only in stories. But to those who describe them, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were so impossible, so beautiful, that they became one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But forget kings and wonders for a moment. Imagine you are a young scribe in this city. You wake at dawn, take a clay tablet, and step out into the street. The smell of bread and river mud, the market is already loud, traders weighing grain, wool, silver, and spices carried in from across Mesopotamia. You walk down to the Euphrates, where reed boats are unloading at the docks, and a great bridge hangs over the water. You look up, and above the rooftops you see it, the ziggurat, catching the first sun. To you, it isn't a wonder of the world, it's just home. You don't know, you can't know that you are living in the greatest city of your age, and that one day, people will argue whether it ever existed at all. This city was ruled by its greatest king, Nebuchadnezzar II. Under him, between 605 and 562 BC, Babylon reached its summit. He rebuilt the walls, the gates, the temples, and the palace so magnificently that their fame spread across the ancient world. It seemed there was no force that could ever stop it. But it's always at the peak that the fall begins. In 539 BC, just one generation after Nebuchadnezzar, the armies of Cyrus the Great of Persia reached the city, and Babylon fell. But it was not destroyed. There was no great fire, no massacre. The city simply changed hands. The walls still stood. The gardens still bloomed. The markets still roared. From the outside, almost nothing had changed, and that was the trap. The death of Babylon didn't begin with the blow of a sword. It began quietly. 2 centuries later, another man walked through these gates, Alexander the Great. He was captivated by Babylon, and he planned to make it the capital of his entire empire, from Greece to India. The city could have become the center of the world once more. But in 323 BC, Alexander died suddenly, right here in Babylon, at just 32 years old. His dream died with him, and without it, the city had no future left. Alexander's successors built a new capital nearby, and people began to leave. Slowly, year after year, the canals that fed the city silted up, the fields dried out. The great bricks, those same blue and golden bricks, were carried off to build other towns. The gardens, if they ever existed, withered. Century by century, the greatest city on earth sank back into the very mud it was born from, until only the broken stump of the great tower remained. And then, not even that. For centuries, travelers crossed empty mounds of earth without knowing what lay beneath them. Some began to wonder if Babylon had ever been real at all, or if it was just a story in old books. It was real. It stood right here. And for one shining moment, 26 centuries ago, it was the closest thing humanity had ever built to heaven on earth. If you want to watch another lost world come back to life, subscribe. Next time, we walk through the streets of a city that Rome would burn to the ground, Carthage.